Welcome to Wisdom in Minutes Audiobooks. Today's reflection is titled, The Most Powerful Lesson, Do What's Important, No Matter How You Feel. Let's begin with a truth that often separates those who dream from those who achieve. Your emotions are temporary, but your actions create legacy. Every person wants to feel motivated before they act, yet the real power lies in acting before motivation arrives. The most successful individuals, the ones who build, create, and lead, don't wait for perfect moods or ideal moments. They understand that discipline is stronger than desire, and purpose must come before passion. Think about it. How many times have you said, "I'll start when I feel ready"? And how many times did that moment never come? The human mind is brilliant at finding reasons to delay, to protect itself from discomfort. But growth doesn't live in comfort. It lives in commitment. The most powerful lesson is realizing that you don't need to feel good to do good. You only need to do what matters, again and again, until action itself becomes your new emotion. Here's the hook most people miss. Consistency beats intensity. It's not the giant burst of effort once a year that defines you. It's the quiet, steady push every single day. The writer who types one page, even when tired. The worker who shows up, even when unmotivated. The parent who keeps guiding, even when overwhelmed. These are the unseen victories that build extraordinary lives. When you force yourself to do what's important, you teach your mind that feelings don't control you. You control them. And that shift, that inner mastery, changes everything. You stop chasing motivation and start creating momentum. You stop hoping for discipline and start becoming it. So, as you move forward today, remember this: you are not your emotions, you are your choices. Do what matters even when it's hard. Do what's right even when it's dull. Because one day, those small acts of effort will become the very strength that defines you. There's a powerful truth that most people overlook. The fact that feelings fade, but actions last forever. Emotions come and go like waves on a restless sea. Some days you wake up ready to conquer the world. Other days you can barely convince yourself to take the first step. But your feelings, no matter how strong or heavy, are temporary. They rise, they crash, and then they disappear. What endures, what defines you, is what you do in the moments when your emotions try to stop you. Think about this. How many dreams have died not because someone lacked talent, but because they waited to feel ready? How many times have you seen potential fade because someone let a passing mood dictate their life's direction? The truth is, feelings are unreliable companions on the road to success. They will tell you to rest when you need to move, to give up when you need to push forward, to wait when you need to begin. If you build your life on emotion, you will always be at the mercy of instability. But when you build it on disciplined action, on doing what matters even when you don't feel like it, you create something unshakable. Here's the hook. Your feelings might fight you, but your future will thank you. The pain of discipline lasts for moments. The pain of regret lasts for years. Each decision to act, especially when it's uncomfortable, becomes a brick in the foundation of your future self. You may not feel motivated, you may not feel strong, but every time you choose to move anyway, you're rewriting who you are. You're proving to yourself that your feelings are not your master. You are. Every great achievement you've ever admired was built in moments of resistance. The author didn't feel inspired every day, but they wrote. The athlete didn't feel powerful every morning, but they trained. The leader didn't feel certain with every decision, but they acted. Those who achieve greatness aren't void of emotion. They've simply learned to rise above it. They understand that emotion can be acknowledged, but not obeyed. They feel fear and still move. They feel doubt and still try. They feel tired and still show up. That's where transformation begins. Not in waiting for perfect feelings, but in building perfect consistency. Imagine your emotions as weather, sometimes sunny, sometimes stormy, sometimes unpredictable. Now imagine your actions as the mountain beneath that weather, steady, grounded, unchanging. The mountain doesn't bow to the storm, it endures it. That's what action does. It gives your life structure when everything else feels uncertain. When you act, even through doubt, you strengthen the muscle of resilience. You start teaching your mind a new truth, that you can feel discomfort and still do great things. That lesson changes everything. It's easy to be inspired for a moment. Inspiration feels good. It's like a spark that lights up your mind and fills you with energy. But a spark isn't enough to sustain a fire. It needs fuel, consistent effort, even on the days you don't feel like giving any. That's where real growth happens. It's not about how you feel in the moment, but how you act despite the moment. The world remembers the builders, the doers, the finishers, not the ones who felt like starting but never did. You see, when you start choosing action over emotion, you begin to transform how you see yourself. You start to trust your own word. Every time you say, "I'll do it," and then follow through, you prove to your mind that you're dependable. That builds self-respect, and self-respect becomes confidence. Confidence isn't born from perfect emotions, it's born from consistency. When you act again and again, even when it's hard, you realize something powerful. You don't need to feel ready to make progress. You just need to begin. Here's another truth that most people miss. Emotion is a follower, not a leader. When you take action, your emotions eventually catch up. The energy, pride, and motivation you're waiting for. They often appear after you've started. Think about a workout you didn't want to do. The hardest part wasn't the exercise. It was lacing up your shoes and walking out the door. Once you start moving, momentum takes over. The same applies to every goal. The hardest step is the first one, the one you take against the weight of your feelings. The world is full of people who felt like giving up and didn't. That's the silent difference between average and extraordinary. Every moment you choose action over hesitation, you gain something no one can take from you, proof that you are stronger than your emotions. That proof compounds over time. One day you wake up and realize that what once felt impossible now feels natural. That's the reward for pushing through. Not the absence of hard days, but the ability to thrive despite them. You will never always feel ready. You will never always feel confident. But the magic happens when you act anyway. When you do what's right, not what's easy. When you honor your goals more than your moods. When you push through the noise in your head and show up for yourself again and again. Those moments of quiet courage. When you take the hard step no one sees. Those are the ones that build the life you dream about. There's a calm kind of power that comes from choosing consistency. The kind that doesn't need to shout or prove itself. It's the confidence that comes from knowing you'll do what's important, no matter how you feel. That's real freedom. the freedom from being controlled by every rise and fall of emotion. It's the freedom to live by choice, not chance. To lead yourself when no one's watching. To become the kind of person your past self would look up to. So when the weight of doubt settles in, when the spark fades, when your emotions whisper that it's easier to stop, remember this moment. Remember that feelings are temporary, but the work you do now will last. The book you finish, the project you start, the promise you keep to yourself. Those are the things that will still be standing when your moods have come and gone. Every time you act in the face of resistance, you carve strength into your character. And someday, when you look back, you won't remember the moments you felt tired, scared, or unmotivated. You'll remember that you did it anyway, that you moved forward even when it was hard, that you kept going when no one was cheering. Because that's the kind of strength that doesn't fade. The emotions will come and go, but the actions you take, the life you build, will stand as proof that you were stronger than how you felt. This is Wisdom in Minutes audiobooks. Stay steady, stay focused, and always choose action over hesitation, because feelings fade. But what you build through discipline will echo far beyond this moment. There's a quiet force that separates those who wish for change from those who actually create it, and that force is discipline. Discipline is not glamorous, it's not loud, and it rarely feels exciting in the moment. But it is the invisible bridge that connects your goals to your growth, the path that turns vision into victory. Motivation may light the fire, but discipline keeps it burning when the spark fades. It's the muscle that holds you steady when everything else feels uncertain. Think about how many people start strong, driven by emotion, by inspiration, by that first rush of energy, and then stop halfway because that feeling disappears. Motivation is a visitor, discipline is a resident. Motivation shows up when it's convenient, when conditions are perfect. Discipline shows up when you're tired, when it's inconvenient, when no one's watching. That's what makes it so powerful. It's the act of choosing what you said you would do long after the mood in which you said it has faded. Here's the hook. Discipline isn't punishment, it's freedom. The freedom to move closer to who you want to become, no matter how you feel right now. When you train yourself to act beyond emotion, you stop being a victim of circumstance and start being the architect of your future. Discipline doesn't take away your emotions, it just stops them from controlling the direction of your life. Every time you follow through on a promise to yourself, you strengthen that bridge between intention and result. The most successful people in the world are not necessarily the most talented or the most inspired. They are the most consistent. They wake up when they don't feel like it. They practice when no one is watching. They keep their word even when it costs them comfort. That's the quiet greatness of discipline. It doesn't need applause because the results speak for themselves. And the most beautiful part, discipline compounds. Every small, disciplined act builds upon the last until progress becomes a habit and success becomes inevitable. Let's be honest, discipline is rarely comfortable. It asks you to delay gratification, to stay committed when others drift, to sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term purpose. But in those moments of resistance, something extraordinary happens. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to realize that you are capable of far more than your emotions suggest. Every time you do what you said you'd do, Even when it's hard, you build a quiet kind of power inside you. A power that doesn't depend on luck, mood, or circumstance. Most people misunderstand discipline. They see it as restriction, as something that takes joy away. But in reality, discipline gives you control. It removes chaos. It gives your time, energy, and focus a direction. Without discipline, you're like a ship with no anchor, drifting wherever the waves of emotion carry you. With discipline, you're the captain. You might still face storms, but you stay on course. And that's the difference between living reactively and living intentionally. Think of any goal you've ever had. Better health, more success, stronger relationships. Every single one requires discipline. The discipline to say no when distractions whisper yes. The discipline to stay focused when progress feels slow. The discipline to keep learning, growing, showing up even when results haven't arrived yet. That's the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Without it, goals are just wishes. With it, dreams start taking shape in the real world. Here's the truth. There will always be days when you feel uninspired, when the work feels too heavy, when you question if it's worth it. Those are the moments discipline was built for. That's when it matters most. Because anyone can act when it's easy. True character shows when it's hard. When you push through resistance, you're not just building results. You're building resilience. You're proving to yourself that your commitment means more than your comfort. And that's the turning point. Discipline transforms from something you have to do into something you want to do. Because you start to see what it's creating. You see the progress. You feel the strength. You experience the quiet satisfaction of knowing that you are moving forward. Even when no one notices, you realize that every disciplined choice is a deposit into your future. It's like planting seeds. You might not see them grow right away, but beneath the surface, life is taking root. Here's another hook. Discipline turns potential into power. Everyone has potential, but only a few ever reach it. Why? Because potential means nothing without persistence. The world is full of people with big ideas and big dreams who never built the habits to sustain them. Discipline is what turns someday into today. It's the daily commitment that transforms intention into identity. You stop being someone who wants change and start being someone who creates it. You don't need to be perfect to be disciplined. You just need to be consistent. The small, unglamorous actions, getting up early, finishing that task, keeping that promise, those are the building blocks of greatness. Success isn't made in grand moments of inspiration. It's made in quiet hours of repetition. When you understand that, you stop chasing motivation and start cultivating mastery. You realize that success isn't an event. It's a lifestyle built one disciplined decision at a time. It's easy to get lost in comparison, to look at others and think they have something you don't. But what they have isn't magic, it's maintenance. They've learned to manage their mind, to stay the course when it's tempting to quit. Discipline is what allows them to keep showing up until their effort becomes excellence. The world rewards those who can stay the longest in the uncomfortable space between effort and achievement. Every act of discipline is a declaration that you believe in your future more than your feelings. When you wake up early to work on your craft, when you choose health over habit, when you stay focused on growth instead of distraction, you're saying, I trust the process. That's what builds unshakable confidence. Because confidence doesn't come from talk or talent, it comes from evidence, and discipline provides that evidence, one action at a time. So when you feel unmotivated, when the weight of responsibility feels too heavy, remember this: your goals don't care how you feel. They care what you do. Every step you take toward them, no matter how small, strengthens that bridge between where you are and who you're becoming. Discipline doesn't eliminate emotion, it elevates you above it. It reminds you that the path to fulfillment is paved not with fleeting motivation, but with unwavering commitment. When you choose discipline, you choose growth. You choose to keep walking even when the road is uphill. You choose to trust that every difficult moment is shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and more capable. The reward isn't just in reaching the goal, it's in who you become on the journey. The more you practice discipline, the less you need to rely on emotion, because progress itself becomes your motivation. This is Wisdom in Minutes audiobooks. And as you move forward, remember, motivation will visit, but discipline will stay. Choose discipline. Build that bridge. Walk it every day, and let every step carry you closer to the life you were meant to live. Its comfort is seductive. It whispers softly, offering safety, predictability, and ease. It promises rest from struggle and freedom from risk. But here's the truth: most people avoid. Comfort is the silent killer of potential. It feels good, but it costs more than you realize. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, you trade growth for stagnation. You surrender the life you could have for the convenience of the moment. Comfort doesn't announce its danger. It quietly keeps you the same. Here's the hook. Everything you want lies just beyond your comfort zone. The success you dream of, the strength you crave, the confidence you admire in others. They're all waiting on the other side of discomfort. Growth doesn't live in the familiar. It thrives in the unknown. Yet most people spend their lives running from discomfort, not realizing that every time they do, they're running from their own evolution. Think about it. The first time you tried anything meaningful, speaking in public, taking a risk, learning a skill, it felt uncomfortable. Maybe your heart raced, your palms sweated, and your mind filled with doubt. But if you pushed through, you grew. Discomfort is the teacher of transformation. It's the proof that you're stretching beyond what's easy. The people who thrive in life aren't those who avoid discomfort. They're the ones who have made peace with it. They understand that pain isn't punishment, it's progress in disguise. Most people confuse comfort with happiness. They think that if life feels easy, they're doing something right. But comfort doesn't create fulfillment. It breeds complacency. The easy path rarely leads anywhere meaningful. It keeps you entertained, distracted, and busy, but not alive. True happiness comes from expansion, from the thrill of pushing your limits, from seeing yourself do something you once believed you couldn't. That spark, that's life reminding you that growth and discomfort are inseparable. Here's another hook. The mind always seeks comfort, but the soul craves growth. Your brain wants stability, your spirit wants expansion. That's why you feel that pull inside when you're stuck in routine. You're not meant to live inside the walls of predictability. You're meant to stretch, to evolve, to rise. Comfort feels safe, but it quietly steals your potential. Discomfort feels risky, but it's the birthplace of strength. The challenge you're avoiding today might be the very thing that unlocks your next level tomorrow. Comfort zones are built from fear, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of pain. But fear is not a stop sign, it's a signal. It tells you that what lies ahead matters. Every great story begins with fear, and every great transformation begins with action despite it. You don't eliminate fear by avoiding it, you eliminate it by facing it. Each time you step into discomfort, the fear loses its power, and your confidence grows. You start to realize that the walls of your comfort zone were never real. They were built by doubt, and every brave step dismantles them. Think of life as a series of thresholds. Each time you cross one, you expand your capacity. The first step is always the hardest, because your mind resists the unknown. But once you step forward, you adapt. What was once uncomfortable becomes normal, and the cycle repeats. Growth is nothing more than expanding what you can tolerate. You don't stop feeling discomfort, you simply learn to move through it. That's what separates the dreamers from the doers. When you live inside comfort for too long, life starts to shrink. The excitement fades, your energy lowers. Even success loses its meaning because you stop evolving. The human spirit was designed to grow, to chase, to create. That's why so many people who have everything still feel restless. They've stopped challenging themselves. They've mistaken comfort for peace. But peace doesn't come from ease. It comes from alignment. Knowing you're becoming more of who you're meant to be. Discomfort sharpens your edges. It builds discipline, patience, and resilience. It teaches you how to keep moving when the path is uncertain. Every great achievement in history was born out of discomfort. The innovations, the discoveries, the revolutions, they all came from people who refused to settle. They were willing to be uncomfortable for a cause greater than convenience. That's what it takes to rise, to trade the short-term pleasure of comfort for the long-term reward of growth. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Comfort will lie to you. It will tell you that you've done enough, that you deserve a break, that it's okay to wait until things feel easier. But ease is a trap. The longer you stay in it, the harder it becomes to leave. The comfort zone doesn't expand on its own, it only grows when you step beyond it. The first few steps will always feel uncertain. But if you keep walking, the fear fades and your strength takes its place. The moment you stop seeking comfort and start seeking challenge, your life changes. Suddenly, rejection doesn't break you. It refines you. Failure doesn't define you. It educates you. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity to adapt, to evolve, to test the limits of what you thought possible. You start to view discomfort not as an enemy, but as a sign that you're on the right path. Because growth never happens in stillness, it happens in motion, in effort, in risk. You have to train your mind to see discomfort differently. When it shows up, don't retreat. Lean in. Let it stretch you. Let it build you. Let it show you what you're capable of. That's how warriors are made. Not in moments of ease, but in the tension between fear and faith. The more you practice choosing the harder path, the more strength you accumulate. That strength becomes your confidence, your armor, your advantage. Here's the final hook. Comfort feels safe now, but it leads to regret later. Discomfort feels risky now, but it leads to pride later. You can't avoid struggle and still expect success. You can't crave growth and still cling to ease. The very thing that feels uncomfortable today is shaping the version of you that will handle tomorrow's challenges with grace. So, When you feel that pull to stay where it's easy, remind yourself that comfort has never built greatness. The moments that challenge you are the ones that change you. The road may be rough, the process may be slow, but every step taken in discomfort moves you closer to becoming the person you were meant to be. This is Wisdom in Minutes audiobooks. When you embrace the discomfort of growth, you don't just change your circumstances, you change yourself. And that's the kind of progress that lasts. Momentum is the invisible force that transforms effort into progress, and progress into power. But momentum doesn't begin with giant leaps or dramatic breakthroughs. It begins with small steps. One decision, one habit, one action at a time. The greatest transformations in life rarely happen all at once. They happen quietly, in the moments no one sees. The small things you do every day. Those simple, consistent choices become the building blocks of unshakable momentum. Here's the hook. Most people overestimate what they can achieve in a day, but underestimate what they can achieve in a year with consistent effort. They chase massive results, craving instant gratification, and when progress feels slow, they give up. But the truth is, success is not built in sudden bursts. It's carved out through persistence. The small step you take today may seem insignificant, but it's not. Every small step compounds. Every repetition strengthens the foundation. And before you realize it, those tiny efforts begin to move mountains. Think about the first push of a heavy object. At first, it barely moves. It resists, it feels impossible. But once it starts rolling, it becomes unstoppable. That's how momentum works. The hardest part is starting, but once you do, energy begins to build. One action fuels another, one victory inspires the next. You begin to shift from forcing effort to flowing with progress. The energy that once felt so hard to create begins to carry you forward. Most people never experience true momentum because they stop before it arrives. They expect instant results and mistake slow progress for failure. But slow progress isn't failure. It's formation. It's the process of laying the groundwork, of teaching your mind and body what consistency feels like. Every small act of commitment, waking up early, making that call, reading that chapter, isn't just about the task itself. It's about training your identity. You're proving to yourself that you can follow through, and that proof builds power. Here's another hook. Momentum doesn't come from motivation, it creates motivation. Action breeds energy. When you take a small step forward, you generate motion, and motion builds confidence. You start to feel capable. You start to see evidence of your effort. That evidence fuels belief, and belief fuels even more action. This is the cycle of growth. The key is to focus less on how far you have left to go and more on the next right step. Because when you keep moving, even at a slow pace, you're still moving forward. And that's all that matters. Greatness is built in repetition. It's not the one-time effort that changes your life. It's what you do consistently, even when the excitement fades. The runner who trains every morning, the artist who creates daily, the student who studies a little each day. These people understand that success isn't a single event, it's a habit. You don't need to do everything at once. You just need to keep doing something. Because every small, deliberate action sends a message to your future. I'm not stopping. Imagine if you committed to improving by just 1% each day. It doesn't sound like much, but over time, it transforms everything. 1% daily growth doesn't just add up, it multiplies. That's the magic of compounding. The same way money compounds through interest, effort compounds through consistency. One day, you'll look back and realize that what once felt tiny has become tremendous. The slow, steady steps have built a momentum so strong it's impossible to stop. The beauty of small steps is that they're achievable. You don't have to feel overwhelmed by the size of your dream. You just have to focus on the next move. Big goals can paralyze you with fear, but small actions empower you. They're manageable, doable, real. And when you complete them, you experience progress. Proof that change is happening, even if it's slow. Progress, no matter how small, builds pride, and pride builds momentum. There will be days when it feels like nothing is happening. You'll question if it's working, if it's worth it. That's when you must remind yourself that every great success story began with a long stretch of unseen effort. The seeds you plant don't grow overnight. They take time, care, and patience. But if you stop watering them because you can't see results yet, you'll never experience the harvest. Keep watering. Keep showing up. Your consistency is planting roots deeper than you realize. Momentum is also built through recovery and reflection. It's not about doing everything all the time. It's about doing the right things consistently. Resting when you need to, learning from what didn't work, and staying committed to what matters most. Each step teaches you something about yourself. Your limits, your strengths, your patterns. And with each lesson, you grow more capable of sustaining the journey ahead. Here's a powerful thought. The small steps you take in private will one day become the results people admire in public. They won't see the discipline, the repetition, the quiet nights spent working while others rested. But those unseen moments are where character is forged. That's where momentum is born. The world may celebrate the breakthrough, but the breakthrough only happens because you didn't stop pushing when progress was invisible. Success doesn't happen because of one massive leap. It happens because of thousands of small steps that no one noticed. Each step matters. Each one builds upon the last. Every day you show up, even when it feels ordinary, you're compounding momentum that will eventually become unstoppable. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't talent or luck. It's endurance. It's the willingness to keep taking the next step, no matter how small, until momentum takes over. And once it does, everything changes. Suddenly, what once required effort feels natural. What once felt impossible now feels inevitable. The same steps that once exhausted you now empower you. Because momentum turns struggle into rhythm. It transforms discipline into desire. You stop forcing yourself to move forward. You simply keep flowing because movement has become your nature. The most powerful part about momentum is that it's self-sustaining. Once you've built it, it carries you through the hard days. It keeps you going when motivation fades, because it's no longer about emotion. It's about momentum. It's about honoring the path you've built, one step at a time. You no longer ask, "Can I do this?" You know you can, because you've already proven it through every step that brought you here. This is Wisdom in Minutes audiobooks. Remember, it's not about doing everything perfectly, it's about doing something consistently. Keep taking those small steps. Keep building your momentum. Because every small effort, no matter how simple, is bringing you closer to the life you're meant to live. Discipline is the silent force behind every lasting success. It's not glamorous. It's not always exciting, but it's the one quality that separates wishful thinking from true achievement. Focus gives direction, but discipline gives motion. Together, they create unstoppable momentum, the kind that moves you forward when motivation fades and the world grows noisy. Because let's be honest, motivation is fragile. It comes and goes like the wind. But discipline stays when motivation leaves. It shows up even when you don't feel like it. Here's the truth that few admit. Most dreams die not because people lack talent, but because they lack consistency. Discipline isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. It's waking up and choosing your purpose again and again, especially on the days you feel disconnected from it. Focus sharpens that purpose. It filters out distractions, cuts through the noise, and reminds you that not everything deserves your attention. Every time you say no to something that doesn't serve your vision, you're saying yes to your future. That's how focus fuels progress. Here's the hook. Discipline is doing what must be done, even when you don't want to do it. It's the quiet promise you make to yourself, and the louder one you keep. The strongest people you know aren't always the most inspired. They're simply the most consistent. They don't wait for the right mood or the perfect moment. They move first and let the feeling follow later, because feelings are fickle. But commitment is a decision. Discipline trains your mind to serve your goals, not your emotions. Every time you push yourself to act when you'd rather rest, you strengthen your willpower like a muscle. At first, it feels heavy. But over time, what once felt impossible becomes effortless. That's the beauty of self-control. It compounds. The more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. And soon, discipline isn't something you force. It's something you embody. Focus, on the other hand, is the art of single direction. It's saying to yourself, I can do anything, but not everything. In a world designed to distract, focus becomes your greatest competitive edge. Every notification, every comparison, every temptation to scroll or quit is a test of your attention. And if you want to build something extraordinary, you must protect your attention like treasure. Because what you focus on expands. When your attention is scattered, your energy is too, but when it's concentrated, it's unstoppable. Here's another hook. Focus is not about doing more. It's about doing what matters most. You can be busy every day and still move nowhere. But when you're focused, even a small effort becomes powerful, because it's directed with purpose. You stop living reactively and start living intentionally. The difference between the ordinary and the exceptional lies in that shift. From chasing everything to mastering one thing. Think of discipline as the engine and focus as the steering wheel. One keeps you moving. The other ensures you're moving in the right direction. Without discipline, you drift. Without focus, you waste fuel. Together, they create a force that's nearly impossible to stop. That's how athletes reach peak performance, how entrepreneurs build empires, and how ordinary people transform their lives. They harness both. But let's not sugarcoat it. Discipline is hard. Focus is uncomfortable. The path of commitment demands sacrifice. It means waking up earlier than you want, working longer than you planned, staying calm when distractions pull at you from every angle. It means saying no more than you say yes. Yet, every sacrifice sharpens your edge. Every disciplined decision becomes a brick in the foundation of your success. The very things that feel like burdens now are building your strength for later. When you train yourself to be disciplined, you're not just changing what you do. You're changing who you are. You become someone who follows through, someone who can be trusted by others and, more importantly, by yourself. That self-trust is the real reward of discipline. Because when you trust yourself to keep your word, confidence becomes natural. You no longer doubt your ability to achieve. You've already proven it in the small daily battles. Here's the subtle power of discipline. It gives freedom. At first, it feels like restriction, but over time, it becomes liberation. The person who's disciplined with their habits is free from chaos. The person who's focused with their time is free from overwhelm. Structure doesn't limit creativity. It amplifies it, because when your life is built on discipline, you don't waste energy deciding what to do. You just do it. That consistency creates flow, and flow creates success. In a distracted world, focus becomes rare, and what's rare is valuable. Most people live in reaction mode, bouncing from one urgency to another. But when you're focused, you operate on intention, not impulse. You control your time instead of letting time control you. You move through your day with clarity and confidence. And that, in itself, is power. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment, but focus is the compass that ensures you cross the right bridge. Without focus, discipline can become misdirected effort. You might work hard but achieve little. The secret is alignment, knowing where to direct your energy, and then committing to it relentlessly. Every day, ask yourself, what truly matters today? Then discipline yourself to follow that answer. That single question can transform your results. Here's a hard truth. Most people quit when it's uncomfortable, not when it's impossible. Discipline is what keeps you standing in the discomfort long enough to see the breakthrough. It's not about doing everything perfectly, it's about refusing to stop. Every time you stay focused through frustration, every time you stay disciplined through delay, you're reinforcing a mindset of resilience. And resilience is the hidden ingredient of every success story. Eventually, the effort pays off. The mornings you didn't want to get up, the hours you spent refining your craft, the times you stayed focused while everyone else was distracted, they all add up. They become your advantage. Because while others were chasing comfort, you were building capacity. While others sought distractions, you cultivated depth. And in the end, it's always the focused and disciplined who rise above the noise. Here's the final hook. Discipline and focus are not about controlling your life, they're about claiming it. They are how you transform potential into power and dreams into reality. They are how you turn chaos into clarity and hesitation into momentum. Every day you practice them, you're not just achieving something, you're becoming someone. Someone unstoppable. Someone extraordinary. Someone who doesn't just dream about success, but lives it, step by disciplined step, moment by focused moment. Every person lives two lives, the one happening around them and the one happening inside their mind. The first is shaped by events, the second by interpretation. That inner story you tell yourself every day decides who you become, what you chase, and what you quit on. The truth is, your story is the most powerful tool you own. It can be a prison or a pathway. It can hold you back or set you free. And here's the hook. You are the author, even when you forget that you hold the pen. So much of life's struggle comes from the silent dialogue in your mind. When you fail, do you say, "I'm not good enough," Or do you say, I'm learning? When things get difficult, do you whisper, I can't do this? Or do you remind yourself, I've survived worse? That difference, though invisible, changes everything. Because your story doesn't describe your life, it creates it. Your words form your mindset shapes your choices, and your choices write your future. Every great transformation begins with a rewritten story. The moment someone stops saying, I'm broken, and starts saying, I'm rebuilding, everything shifts. The external world might remain the same for a while, but internally, the foundation starts to change. You start walking differently, thinking differently, and eventually living differently. The story you repeat becomes your identity, and identity determines destiny. Here's the truth most people overlook. Life doesn't respond to your potential, it responds to your perception. You could have every skill, every resource, every opportunity, but if your story says you're not ready, you'll never act. You'll hesitate, self-sabotage, and call it being realistic. But when your story says you're capable, you move forward. You make decisions with courage instead of caution. You stop waiting for permission to begin. The difference between those who try and those who triumph often comes down to the story they believe most deeply about themselves. Let's be honest. Your mind can be both your greatest ally and your most persuasive enemy. It collects every criticism, every doubt, every failure, and uses them as evidence to prove why you can't. But you have the power to change the narrative. Every time that voice whispers, you'll fail again, you can respond, that may be true, but I'll try again anyway. That response is where growth begins, because rewriting your story isn't about pretending life is perfect. It's about refusing to let your past define your future. Here's another hook. Your thoughts are not commands, they're suggestions. You don't have to accept every one that passes through your mind. You can choose which ones to feed. When you constantly replay your mistakes, you strengthen doubt. But when you replay your victories, no matter how small, you strengthen belief. Your brain learns through repetition. What you tell it daily becomes truth, even if it started as a lie. That's why it's dangerous to tell yourself you're not enough. Because your brain will believe you, but it's equally powerful to tell yourself you are capable. Because your brain will believe that too. Every achiever you admire, every artist, athlete, or leader, has battled a story of limitation. They've all faced moments of insecurity where their inner voice said, "Who do you think you are?" The only difference is, they didn't let that voice dictate their actions. They acknowledged the fear, but they didn't submit to it. They wrote a better story, one where they could be imperfect and still make progress. And that's the real secret. Confidence isn't built by avoiding doubt, it's built by moving through it. Your story defines how you interpret challenges. When something goes wrong, do you see it as proof of weakness or a test of strength? That perception changes your behavior. The same setback that breaks one person becomes the reason another person rises. The event doesn't decide that. The story does. You can't always control what happens to you, but you can always control the meaning you give it. And meaning is where resilience is born. Here's where the real power lies. Once you take ownership of your story, you stop being a victim of circumstances and become a creator of outcomes. You start replacing, "Why is this happening to me?" with, "What is this teaching me?" You stop measuring yourself by where you are and start focusing on who you're becoming. That shift is everything. Because the person who owns their story doesn't fear the future, they shape it. Rewriting your story requires honesty and courage. It means facing the parts of yourself you've avoided, the failures, the regrets, the insecurities, and seeing them not as evidence of defeat, but as proof of endurance. You've made it this far through every hardship you thought would break you. That's not weakness. That's strength. When you acknowledge that truth, you start to see your scars not as symbols of pain, but as signs of survival. That's when healing begins, not by erasing the past, but by reframing it. Here's another hook. Your story isn't just yours, it's contagious. The way you speak about yourself teaches others how to see you. When you speak with confidence, people trust your strength. When you constantly minimize your worth, people begin to mirror that energy back to you. The story you tell becomes the world's perception of you, so choose it wisely. Speak not from where you are, but from where you're going. If you want to change your life, start by changing your language. Replace "I always fail" with "I'm still improving." Replace "I can't handle this" with "I'm learning to handle this." It sounds simple, but language rewires the brain. Words trigger emotion, emotion triggers action, and action shapes reality. This is how people rise, not through luck, but through the stories they choose to live by. The mind will always default to self-preservation. It wants safety, not growth. That's why it clings to old stories. They feel familiar. But familiarity and fulfillment are not the same thing. Growth demands you challenge your story, even when it's uncomfortable. Every time you step into uncertainty, you're writing a new chapter. And yes, it's scary, but fear is often just the signal that you're heading in the right direction. You can't edit a story you refuse to read. So take a moment to look at yours. Ask yourself, is this story helping me become who I want to be? Or is it keeping me where I've always been? Be honest, because once you see your story clearly, you can rewrite it deliberately. You can replace doubt with determination, regret with responsibility, hesitation with hope. And here's the final hook. The most powerful story is not the one others tell about you. It's the one you tell yourself when no one's listening. That story decides your limits, your courage, your success, and your peace. If you tell yourself you are capable, resilient, and worthy, your actions will align with that truth. You'll stop living in reaction to your circumstances and start creating from intention. You'll stop waiting for someone to rescue you, because you'll realize you were the hero of your story all along. Every day you wake up, you're handed a blank page. The past may have shaped you, but it doesn't have to define you. The story continues, and the pen is still in your hand. What you write next is up to you. This has been Wisdom in Minutes Audiobooks. If today's lesson spoke to you, carry it with you. Because the discipline you practice today will shape the freedom you live tomorrow.